Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of Ada's Diaries. If you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Ada Adetunji. Today's episode is going to be more like personal because I'm going to be sharing with you my experiences as a military wife. So if you're a military wife or a would soon be military wife or a military girlfriend or a civilian and you want to know or take a cue from my experience, you might want to stay on here. Then a girl will go and be right back. So guys, a girl is back and it's time to dive right into it. Okay, I promise you I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry because I'm a cry baby. I'm going to start from the very beginning and where we are now. Okay, I'll be 11 years by April, and to be very honest, I wasn't prepped. Like, nobody told me how all these things are going to play out. So I know that marriage is kind of complicated, it's tough and all of that, but being a military wife means putting your whole life on a hold to actually help or guide someone else to live his. At the same time, you need to also be okay that you're doing all of this. So if you're a new wife here, or a military girlfriend, or a would soon be wife, there are things that I didn't really discuss prior marriage. Love, it's always not enough. Like, you need to discuss your finances, career, education. Being a military wife, you also need to discuss how to cope with loneliness. You need to discuss how to deal with him not always being around and everything. Those discussions, those conversations, I never had, with my husband. Discussions I never had with him. And I wasn't prepped, I wasn't told actually. Being a military wife is one of the toughest things I've had to do as a human being, not as a woman, as a human being. So let's rewind to my wedding in April. Few days to my wedding, I said 4 days to my wedding, I started noticing movement, causing here and there, and there were whispers all over the place that my husband was to be nominated or he was supposed to be enrolled for peacekeeping in Sudan. What's the excitement for? Like, guy, our wedding is in 4 days. And he looked at me like, does she know what she's saying? Do I blame him? I really do not blame him because it was an avenue for him to make small money. He's a young officer and all of that. And it was then the first memo was passed. It was served to me hot. I realized that if military happens, it is what it is. It has happened. Like, they just obey. That was the first memo, yeah. So I had to call my parents and tell them two things were actually to be involved. It's either the wedding takes place or the wedding doesn't take place. A day to the wedding, his best man called to cancel because he wasn't released. Another memo served. You don't owe your routines when you are in the military. This is your best guy. You've been planning the wedding for God knows how long, and just at the dying minutes, you just go and tell your organ now that it doesn't work that way, yeah. And I got the memo right. So, well, thank God, the wedding came and we're here. So we also embarked on a trip to Ghana for honeymoon. First off, we went with the little savings we had. He was a rookie. My husband was so young when we got married. I think he was about 24 or there about 25. Or he wasn't even up to 25 then because his birthday was in September and we went in April. So We had little savings. We went, and the plan was, if the military pays, then we make our way home, because we went towards the end of the month and we were expecting his pay, say, first week. So we got there and started getting messages on Facebook and all of that. His boss wanted him. I think he was enrolled for a training, or something, and that was how Oga asked me to pack, and that was the end of our honeymoon. Again, another memo set. Once military happens, it has happened. Like, I mean, it dawned on me that I wasn't only married to this guy, I was also married to his career. And then I wasn't ready physically, I wasn't ready mentally to cushion all of the effects. Like, how am I married to someone that the career comes first before the family? How does he even put the military ahead of me and all of that? I was coming from a military background, civilian background, hello. So you wouldn't also blame me for that. So the whole thing was frustrating me. Like, I wasn't feeling the whole vibe of being married. And fast forward to when I got pregnant, I was few months old. I think I was about 3 months gone when he got nominated for a training or a course. I can't really remember, but I know he shall left when I was 3 months old. A young, pregnant, new wife, new to Lagos, new to barracks life, no friends, and he went to the north. I think he went to Kaduna for a training. That was the most depressing time of my life. Like, I cried all. I'll wake up, I'll cry. I was a crybaby, like nobody to talk to. And I mean, most people out there just say that, your husband traveled now. Is that why you're crying? Is that why you're feeling like this? They don't understand that even where he went to, he only calls when he had spare times. I mean, you know, a pregnant woman, like, you feel need to cuddle or speak to your husband, you won't really need to reach him over the phone. He only calls when he had spare time and all of that. And the next time I saw him was when I put to bed. I think he came when my baby was just 2 weeks old. He came in that night and he left the next morning. I think they were going to Sudan next day or something. And that was the last. I also saw him till my baby was 1 year and 2 months. So put everything together, like, we've been married for, let's say, almost 3 years, and I've not even stayed with my husband for 2 weeks. The sad part is I had more of civilian friends who wouldn't understand when you're talking to them. They felt it was more like a long distance relationship. You're separated from your husband, he's not around, maybe he will come back and all of that. So I started keeping things to myself. I remember I called my dad one day and I broke down, and the guy allowed me, after the whole cry, asked me, do you want to leave him? Do you want to leave your marriage? And I said no. And my dad said the trick to all of this is to make yourself happy, to invest in yourself and all of that. So he advised that I went back to school, and that I did for a second degree. And that actually came with another responsibility. I don't want to talk about the paychecks he signed and he didn't sign very well when he was going to Sudan, and on the 3rd month into the 1 year out he stayed, I was already stranded. So if you're a new wife or you're a military wife, try to learn how to sign your husband's signature for in times of should there be emergencies. Yeah, so that was also my take home. When military happens, you also find a way around it. So My baby was just 2 months old when I took up an intern program with I think NAFTA. I was going left and right looking for how to make ends meet. I can't go borrowing. I can't go telling people that the checks that were dropped for me were non well signed, and the bank didn't give me the money. I wasn't working and all of that, so I needed to get useful. I thought to myself I wouldn't stay here and I die of starvation with my daughter. So I kind of like started doing a lot of things to raise money, side hustles here and there, lessons. I'll be a freelancer for hair. I'll go to trade fair, people selling footwears. I would pick some and carry it around for people to buy. There was no shame in all of this, and I was making small cash here and there. I remember when my husband came back, I knelt down and I was begging him to leave the military. He too was begging me to drop my civilian way and understand him and all of that. It was literally both of us disagreeing on all levels of our lives, and no compromises, no understanding. We communicated less. So here we are today. Some years down the line, I told myself I was going to make this work. There was no counselor I've not visited. Like when you visit a counselor, and most of them are civilian, they are civilians, and they won't really understand the angles you're coming from. They will ask if he beats you, they will ask if he doesn't do all of those. But I wasn't feeling the vibe that I was married, all the whole. To him, everything that comes first is the military, then us and all of that. So I sat myself down and told myself, okay, to make this work, I need to understand the angle this guy is coming from. I wouldn't lie to you, I literally didn't also understand it to the fullest, but I told myself to the best of my abilities I was going to stay sane, I was going to stay happy, because I was in and out of the hospital. It was a lot depressing. So some years later, he was posted to the Northeast. When I thought that being lonely was the toughest part of being a military wife, then came the trauma of him being in Northeast. I mean, he was posted to Lagos for 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks he was posted to Northeast. And I remember him coming to tell me he was coming back that weekend. He had to arrange himself. He was going to Maiduguri, and I thought he was joking. But the next day he woke me up, and guess what? We had to discuss about the uncertainty, the inevitable. What if he dies? So I know here, if I tell you your husbands are going to die, or your wives, or something, you're going to shout blood of Jesus 20 times and plead the hell of that. And so being a military wife, you're just going to be okay discussing death. Like, death is going to happen anyways, and you're just fine discussing that you're going to be a widow, or you might be a widow, and all of that. Learning how about his investments, a lot of things, and that was when I realized that in these 11 years of my marriage, I barely have stayed with my husband altogether for 4 years. And like a counselor would say, some marriages peak from 5 years, some earlier if you're lucky. So I told myself I was going to make the best out of the remaining part of our lives, if he was going to be alive or whatever. So one of the days I just stood up and told myself I was going to Maiduguri to visit him. I know it's silly, right? So the only person I told I was going to Maiduguri is my cousin, and then my immediate elder brother. And I went, the mindset was I was going to enjoy every moment because it might be the last, and hopefully he had my time that period. And truthfully, that trip to Maiduguri till date is my best trip so far as a military wife. Yeah, I had fun. I enjoyed every moment. I had to make him see me how pretty I looked in my bomb, pretty bomb, and I had to let him know how sassy I am. Something to keep him going. I needed to let him know how a good cook I was, how much I actually do love him, and I needed 1 week to do all of that, and I actually did, of the truth, and came back, and it was from one tormenting night to another tormenting night. Then I'll wake up in the morning. Some nights I hardly sleep. I'll go to work. I also come back to meet. Sometimes the children are sick. I'll have to rush them in the middle of the night to the hospital. I saw myself literally getting tougher by the day. I became okay not being okay. I became okay doing things that normally I wouldn't even do. If I tell you the lonely nights I've had to drive from base to first park in the middle of 1 a.m., 2 a.m., rushing a child to hospital. Sometimes I get back home, I meet casualties and all of that. And I've just been dealing with all of this. I've just been okay being lonely. I've just been okay doing things that normally I wouldn't be doing, and I've just been intensifying the need for me to also make more money. So if you're a military wife here listening to me, or would soon be military wife, I mean, it's okay to cry. It's okay not to be okay sometimes. It's okay for you to be not okay, and also be strong for the children. It's okay for the children to hate you, like for trying to inculcate some level of discipline in them. Don't take it personal. You're doing it for the future. It's okay for people not to understand you outside. It's okay for people to misjudge you. It's okay for people to see you and feel you're congified. It's okay for people to feel you're jobless. It's just okay for you to discuss some casualties, some traumas, and all of that. And this is how I've been dealing as a military wife till date. And this is my uncensored truth. I remain Ada Adetunji. Okay guys, I'm becoming emotional. Okay guys, so I've pretty much have spoken about this for you guys to say that it's been a roller coaster. So if you see me boiling, if you see me vibing, if you see me trying to get along, party, if you see me trying to withdraw from you and all of that, if you see me scream at you sometimes, just know that I'm dealing with stuffs, and it's just okay, it's fine. So guys, watch out for the next episode that's going to pretty much talk about how to cope with loneliness. And if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you are an oldie, thanks for all you do. Remember to click on the bell button so you get notified as soon as I drop the next episode. Until then, I still remain your girl, Ada Adetunji, from the other world. Thank you guys for listening.